What's up, YouTube? This is me, Asian Dave, aka Fanatical for Jesus, aka Dalway, aka David Chu. I'm here right now. I want to talk about something. I want to talk a little bit about a sermon I seen from Voddie Baucham. For those of you who don't know who Voddie Baucham is, he's a Reformed Baptist preacher. I agree with most of the stuff he talks about in his sermons. But today, this morning, I came across a sermon of his that really troubled me. The sermon was about mental illness, and I think that Voddie Baucham was completely wrong about like everything he talked about in his sermon. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that he said in his sermon that I felt were wrong. First off, before I talk about the things I didn't like about his sermon, I'll talk about a couple things that I did agree with from him. Number one, I do agree that if you're a Christian who struggles with mental illness, then you should you should not only seek professional help from a mental health counselor or a psychiatrist, but you should involve your church. You should involve your elders in your treatment, and that like you shouldn't just like go after just like listen to whatever your psychologist and psychiatrist says. You should also get your elders at your church involved in your treatment. I do agree with Voddie Baucham that there's a spiritual side to things that we need to address when it comes to mental illness and not just the physical. Um, the Another thing I agree with Voddie Baucham on is I do think that in today's society, to a certain extent, people I feel like the mental health field tends to overly what's the word I'm trying to say um overly just prescribe medication to people who really don't need medications. I mean, well, I knew someone one time who was on a medication for anger because he had an anger problem, and that's just an example of like something that probably shouldn't have been prescribed a medication for, but like our society overly medicates people like to a certain extent. I'm not saying that completely. I mean, there are a lot of serious mental illnesses out there that the only cure for those mental illnesses is psychiatric medication. But there are some illnesses out there that, like, I agree that a change of lifestyle and like um a change of diet and stuff like would help them tremendously. Um, Now here are the things that I disagree with Voddie Baucham on. First off, he talks about he talks about that the way psychiatrists have figured out what behaviors belong to what mental disorder. He said they vote on it. They vote on what was considered a mental illness or not. And that's completely wrong. They don't vote on it. Like I studied this in my social work and my psychology classes. I don't remember exactly how they decide what is considered a mental illness and what is considered not a mental illness. But I remember that it was way more complex than just a simple meeting around the table and talking on certain behaviors and then voting on what to call those certain behaviors. Like Voddie Baucham so flippantly decides to just throw out there and say that they do. Like that's not what they do. Like the process is a lot more complex than that. Like um uh, I don't remember exactly how they did it, but I remember it was more complex than that. They didn't just say, oh, these behaviors, we should just name these behaviors bipolar. Like and that leads me to my next point. He said that a mental illness is not a physical disease or something like that. Yes, it's not a physical, it's a mental disease. And like the thing is, the way I forgot exactly how he worded it, but the way he worded it, he was pretty much saying that mental illness isn't real. And this is the problem that I have. Like with Nuthetic counseling, which it seems like Voddie Baucham has been influenced by Nuthetic counseling. And like that's why Voddie Baucham is saying this crap because he's been influenced by Jay Adams and his book Competent to Counsel. And like Nuthetic counseling, let me just put it out there right now. Nuthetic counseling is complete and utter bullshit. Like mental illness is a real thing. Like Voddie Baucham said like numerous times that mental illness is not real. Like it is real. Like what I suffer through when I go through my mood swings or I experience hearing things that aren't there, that's real. Like that's a real like he said that in the beginning of his sermon he said that there's no such thing as a chemical imbalance. And there's no way to test it. I mean that's so like what does he think medications do? Medications affect the chemicals in our brain and bring them more into balance. And like yes, everybody's chemistry is different. And like it's just like but that's why different medications work differently for different people. Like I could be on a certain medication and someone else could be on the same medication, but that medication will work differently according to our own body chemistry. So, like, I don't get what he's saying. Like it just doesn't make any sense to say that there's no such thing as a chemical imbalance. That's patently false. Like I mean, he says another thing he said was that there's no cure for mental illnesses. Like what he's talking about when he says there's no cure for mental illnesses, he's talking about there's no like medication can't stop the mental illness and make it go away. Just like when you have the flu, you take some medicine and the flu goes away. No, in that sense, yes, there is no cure for mental illness. Someone who's mentally ill is going to be mentally ill for the rest of their life till the day that they die. But medication does cure people with mental illnesses in a way that it helps them it helps them manage their symptoms, and and their mind can be stabilized. Like, it's just ridiculous to say. It's just ridiculous to say that there's no cure for mental illness. They've been curing mental illness for I don't even know how long, for many years now. Like, and just because it doesn't look like a cure to you, doesn't mean that the person isn't being helped. Like, I would be completely whacked out of my mind and doing all kinds of crazy stuff if it wasn't for my medication. I and like I've said before, like God works in ordinary means. So like the way God heals my mental illness is by giving me by providing me with the right medication and the right psychiatrist to give me the right medication that will stabilize my mind. That's how God heals my mental illness. Just like someone who has diabetes, God could just snap his fingers and take away their diabetes. But the way he heals their diabetes is by giving them insulin and like through ordinary means. I don't know, Voddie Baucham just what really made me mad about what he said. I forgot exactly how he worded it, but um he said it about 3 times. He said mental illness he said mental illness is not a physical disease. That's pretty much saying physical diseases are somehow worse than mental illness. Like he's pretty much downplaying mental illness and saying that it's not really a big deal. And like it is a big deal. Mental illness in a lot of ways can be worse than most physical diseases out there. Because at least with a physical disease, you still have a sound mind. When it comes to mental illness, when your mind goes, your mind is just gone. Like, and you're no longer yourself. Like, I would rather have a physical disease than have a mental illness. Like, if I had to choose between the two. What else? He talked about like to every mental illness, there's a spiritual underlying sin. And that's the thing. Like um, the Nuthetic counseling people, they're very fond of saying there's some kind of underlying sin when it comes to mental illness. Like there's some sin you haven't confessed. That is complete and utter garbage. Like there's like yes, I agree that we all have a sin problem. But to say that our mental illness is due to a specific sin we left unconfessed, that is complete and utter bullshit. Like I excuse my language, I'm just really riled up right now. Like it's just I think that is messed up to say to insinuate. That's exactly what Job's friends did with Job when Job was going through everything he went through. They accused him of having some kind of underlying sin. And guess what? They were wrong. Like they were dead wrong. Like and so just like Job's friends were wrong, people these Nuthetic counselors who tell people with mental illness that they have some kind of underlying sin that they have unconfessed, they're dead wrong too. And Voddie Baucham is one of those people that's dead wrong. Like, yes, can underlying sin create like depression or like some problem or like some physical problems? Yes, that is true. But the vast majority of mental illness out there is not the result of some underlying unconfessed sin. Like it's a true chemical imbalance in the brain. Um, what else did he say? Um, yeah, he just like he talked about Nebuchadnezzar and like how Nebuchadnezzar lost his mind and like I mean like Nebuchadnezzar came back to a sound mind when he acknowledged God. And yes, everybody should acknowledge God. They should like whether or not like they're of sound mind or not. Like acknowledging God, like it says in the Proverbs, the beginning of wisdom, or the beginning of wisdom is with the fear of the Lord. I know I just butchered that scripture, but you know what I meant. Like the beginning of wisdom starts with the fear of the Lord. So yeah, we should acknowledge God, even when we're seeking to be treated of our mental illness. Like we should seek the wisdom of the Lord. Like I agree with that. Um, another thing, all Nuthetic counselors they like to say, oh, and then Voddie Baucham said this a few times in his sermon that it's a problem with the way they live their lifestyle. People who are mentally ill, it's a lifestyle issue. Like we're just like they make us out to be some kind of lazy assholes. Like and they say, oh well, you're lazy, so that's why you're struggling so much. And it's like, no, we're not being lazy. Like we just have a mental illness. Like it's a truly debilitating disease. Like they're fond, Euthanic counselors are fond of saying all we need to do is speak boldly into the lives of people with mental illness and speak to them from scripture and that'll heal them. Like I remember I read a story one time of a Euthanic counselor that had someone with schizophrenia come in his office and he spoke boldly from scripture into the schizophrenic's life and like a supposedly the schizophrenic man was like, you know what, you're right. I am lazy, and like he changed his whole life around after that. That sounds so far fetched, like it's utterly ridiculous. Like, yes, can speaking boldly from scripture like help people in various different things? Yes, it can. But I mean, if someone truly has schizophrenia, and they're hearing voices all the time, or if they have schizoaffective disorder and they're having delusional thoughts about, I don't know, wanting to kill Donald Trump, then then speaking boldly into their life from Scripture, it's not going to do anything. They're not even going to hear you because they're too busy with their grandiose thoughts, or they're too busy with hearing their voices drowning your voice out, and like you're just gonna be wasting your time. Some mental illnesses, the only way to cure them is through medication. And I know Voddie Baucham said, "Oh, if that's your only hope, then that's really like I don't remember exactly what he said at the end of the sermon. Like he said something about if your only hope is in psychotropic medication, then that's not good. Or he said that's sad or something. I don't remember exactly what he said. But I'm glad that he said that he's not telling anybody to go off their medication, which a lot of nuthetic counselors will tell people to do. They'll tell them to go off their medication, which is extremely dangerous. Like, yes, he is right that it is extremely dangerous that going off your medication, but he's right for not for the reason that he thinks it is. He thinks that he's right because medication, if you go off them cold turkey, they could possibly put you in the hospital or kill you. Like that is partially true, but he's also wrong. He's also right in the sense that if you go off your medication and you have a serious mental illness like schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia or bipolar, then it could cause you to like have all kinds of episodes where you be up and down and all over the place, hearing voices and talking to yourself, and like it could cause some serious problems like that. That's why I don't know if you all probably don't remember this, or maybe you weren't subscribed to me at this time, but that's why I made the video response to the Vigilant Christian about because he was saying Jesus healed him of his bipolar disorder, and he was going off his medication. I made the video response to him telling him, bro, like, I think you're manic. You need to get back on your medication. I don't know if he ever seen that video, but I was trying to reach out to him because, and I believe that the problems he's having now is due to him going off his medications. Like there's a serious thing. It's a serious thing to go off your meds. Like, um, and he is right that some medications do have an um, addictive power to it. But the thing is, if if the medication is helping you and making you stable minded and you can think clearly and you can think rationally and logically, then who cares if it's addictive? Like as long as it's helping you. If it's not helping you, then talk to your doctor and try new medication. That's the thing about psychiatry that I don't like. Okay, so in psychiatry, like it's all guess and check. The psychiatrists don't know exactly how one medicine is going to affect you as opposed to another medicine. It's just all guess and check on their part. But that's why it's fundamentally important for you to be honest with your psychiatrist and tell them how one medication is affecting you, and tell them if you like it or if you don't like it, and tell them if you want to try new medication. Like it's fundamentally it's on you to decide your own treatment. No one knows you better than yourself. So if you think the medication isn't helping you, tell your psychiatrist and tell them you want a new medication. But if it is helping you, then tell your psychiatrist that so he keeps you on that same medication. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just had a lot of issues with a lot of stuff that Voddie Baucham said. It was pretty blatant that he's been influenced by Jay Adams and the Nuthetic counselors. Nuthetic counseling is just garbage. Like like it's just horrible. Like I can't stand Nuthetic counseling. Like it doesn't do any good to tell someone who struggles with mental illness that they don't really have a mental illness. It doesn't do any good to downplay their mental illness, to say it's not as bad as physical diseases. When in a lot of ways it's a lot worse than physical diseases. And it does them no good. It does no one any good to say that there's some underlying sin that they haven't confessed, and that's why they're suffering the way they're suffering. Like, that is just completely and utter garbage to even say that. And if you say that to someone with mental illness, then you're complete garbage too. Like, and I'm just speaking the truth. Like, don't ever tell a mentally ill person that they're suffering because of some underlying sin that they haven't confessed yet. Like, it's just stupid. Like, Voddie Baucham was dead wrong about this topic. I love him as a brother. I mean, he's a brother in the Lord. I agree with him on most things. But on this issue, Voddie Baucham was dead wrong. Like, I hate to say it, unfortunately. I mean, he's not a psychiatrist, so he shouldn't be talking about it anyways. He shouldn't be talking about mental illness anyways, because he's not a psychiatrist. I mean, he did say in the sermon that he talked to 3 mental health professionals that go to that church, and they agree with him. But just because, I mean, not everyone who has a psychiatry degree is always right. Like, I mean, I hate when people use the argument from authority and say, "Oh, this person has this degree, so he's always right about everything he says about this issue." That's not necessarily true. Like, I mean, these people may have degrees in the mental health field, but that doesn't mean they're always right when it comes to the issue of mental health. And in this case, if they agree with Voddie Baucham, then they're dead wrong too. I'm gonna post Voddie Baucham's sermon in the description box below, so you guys can watch it for yourself and let me know what you guys think. Like, it's about an hour long, like, so just stick it through, and like, if you do watch it, just stick it through and then tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Alright, have a good day. God bless you, and deuces.